Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it is Super Bowl Sunday. And today I'm going to be talking about what the Commanders need to do. I got 4 things that the Commanders need to do this offseason in order to be sitting where the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs are today, competing for a world championship next year in San Francisco. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're going to have you guys covered on this entire journey of the 2025 offseason for your Washington Commanders. Free agency, trade, and draft coverage all throughout the offseason. Mock drafts every single week. We got my perfect offseason plan coming up early in the week this week. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button for the most extensive, in-depth Commanders coverage you can get on this platform, 100% free. And then also make sure you go follow and subscribe our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. Me and Jeffrey Cooperstein tonight, we will be doing our live coverage of Super Bowl 59 between the Chiefs and Eagles. So if you want to come hang out with us one last time here for the 2024-2025 NFL season and help us crown an NFL champion here for this year, make sure you guys come follow us and come subscribe to us here at Chat Sports Main. And we are going live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so do not be late. All right, now let's get into my list of 4 things that the Commanders need to do this offseason to give themselves the best possible chance to compete for a Super Bowl and go to San Francisco as the NFC champions in 2025. So the first thing that they need to do, guys, is they need to upgrade the offensive line. Now, Sam Cosmi's great. All right, we understand that. Tyler Biadasz, I think, is a very solid player. No problems with him whatsoever. But in my opinion, Brandon Coleman is not an NFL left tackle. Now, maybe, he has a really good offseason and he proves me wrong next year. But personally, I would move Brandon to either right tackle or left guard. And speaking of those two positions, I think Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley need to be replaced at those 2 respective positions. I like Allegretti and keeping him on the roster as a depth piece and as a backup in case somebody gets hurt along the interior of the offensive line. I like that he can plug in as somebody that started for this team before, but I just think, with where the Commanders want to be and where they want to go, I just don't know if Allegretti is a Super Bowl caliber starting guard. I know he won Super Bowls with the Chiefs, but I just think that, if you can upgrade at left guard, I think you should. I think the right solution there is Brandon Coleman, who I think could be a really, really good left guard for this football team. And then what I would do is I would get brand new offensive tackles at both bookends. I would really consider looking at guys like Ronnie Stanley to be the new left tackle. I would look at Jack Conklin in a potential trade to be your new right tackle. I would look at any possibility out there in free agency to make these positions at the bookends of the offensive line as good as they can possibly be to protect Jayden Daniels, because Jayden is phenomenal. Outside of structure, all these different things, we know this, but also, if you can give him protection, that just makes things even better, gives him more time, makes him more comfortable, and also it helps out the running game as well. And that's another thing that I think the Commanders need to do is they need to bolster up the running back room. Brian Robinson Jr. is a fine back. I think that he is a good rotational piece that can be a part of a starting rotation, but is he a true bell cow? Is he a true number 1? I'm not so sure about that. I do think the Commanders need to draft somebody at some point in the NFL draft in the middle rounds here. Somebody with a lot of potential, somebody that can be brought up as the future number 1 running back in this room. So that's another thing that I want them to do as well. Then I want them to find a bona fide number 1 edge rusher. All right, Dante Fowler Jr. did some really good things this year. Frankie Louvu as an interior or as an off-ball linebacker really did a good job as a blitzer this year. All these different things we saw in 2024. But what this team was missing was that true number 1 presence on the outside that teams consistently feared every single week. And, I think the 2 guys that you really have to keep your eye on if you're a Commanders fan this offseason, obviously Myles Garrett via trade. I've said on the show that I'm willing to give up 2 first-round draft picks, and I'm willing to give Myles Garrett the largest contract for a defensive player in NFL history in order to make that happen. And then also, and then Khalil Mack in free agency is another viable option. You don't have to pay as much to get Khalil, but he is older, and the production isn't quite where Myles is at. So I would be fine with either one. They're both great fits in this defense as kind of bigger defensive end types. So I'd be happy with either one, but obviously Myles Garrett is the preferred option, at least in my opinion. Then when it comes to the secondary, we know this was not a good cornerback room for the Washington Commanders this year. Mikey Sainristil, a rookie who was drafted to be a slot guy, was your pretty much number one outside corner this year who consistently played the best. Marshawn Lattimore struggled a little bit. He was dealing with a hamstring injury. He was learning the defense, all this different stuff. Hopefully, Marshawn is going to be back to fully healthy next year, and he's going to be able to stay healthy, and he's going to be, very well paid next year by this football team. So I do expect him to take a big step forward in this scheme next year. And then a big decision for the Commanders this year is going to be whether or not they keep Mike Sainristil on the outside or if they kick him inside, which is where they originally drafted him to play. I think it depends on what kind of players they can get in free agency. I think it depends what kind of players they can get in the draft. All these different things, but I think it's harder to find a really, really good interior corner than it is to find a good outside corner. So honestly, if it were up to me, I would want Sainristil to play in the middle and kind of be a Brian Branch type of, big time impact player there in the middle of the defense, and then I would get somebody that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more, suitable to play in a press man type of system, which is what the Commanders want to run, and that's probably what I would do. I would go out and get a bigger guy on the outside, and I'd put Sainristil in the slot. But if they wanted to keep Mikey on the outside, I think he played just fine out there. I'd have no problems with him staying on the outside if that's what they wanted to do. Then the final thing that I think the Commanders need to do to help this team make a Super Bowl in 2025 is to find a legit number 2 wide receiver to complement Terry McLaurin and help out Jayden Daniels. And, this past year, number 2 receiver was definitely, kind of a merry-go-round. And it was kind of, a wide receiver's choice given the week. Some weeks it was Zach Ertz, the tight end. Some weeks it was Olamide Zaccheaus, who really came on towards the end of the season. Some weeks, especially in the playoffs late, it was De'Ami Brown. But they don't have that established number 2 wide receiver presence. So whether that's going out and getting a guy like Cooper Kupp via trade, whether that be going out and trading for a guy like Deebo Samuel, whether that's like signing somebody in free agency like Amari Cooper, whether that's drafting somebody in the early rounds to be that bona fide number 2 threat. I think the Commanders need to get that position right to take pressure off of Jayden Daniels and take pressure off of Terry McLaurin as well. Terry got a lot of double teams this year because of all the different because the talent differential between the number 1 and the number 2 and 3 and 4 receivers here in Washington was just crazy. So I think you need to get somebody a bit closer to be able to open up Terry a little bit more. And by the way, I do expect Terry McLaurin to get a massive contract extension this offseason. So in my opinion, guys, I think they're going to address number 2 receiver in the draft. I think they spend their first or their second round draft pick on a receiver they really believe in, somebody that they think could potentially take over as the number 1 receiver in the future for whenever Terry McLaurin's next contract expires, and somebody that can grow with Jayden Daniels as a legit weapon for him in the years to come while on a rookie contract. As well. So I think that those are the 4 things I think the Commanders need to do here to be able to become Super Bowl champions in 2025. Upgrade the offensive line, find a bona fide number 1 edge rusher, or complete the cornerback room, and then add a legit number 2 receiver. If you do those 4 things, which are very doable, by the way, the Commanders are going to have some cap space. They're going to have opportunities on the trade market. They still have a lot of draft picks in this year's NFL draft. Every opportunity is there for head coach Dan Quinn and GM Adam Peters to be able to build this roster up into a Super Bowl champion. So we're going to be covering that in this journey here during the 2025 offseason every step of the way. Every time they make a signing, we're going to have you guys covered with a breaking news video right here on the channel. We're going to give you guys trade, free agency, and draft news and rumors every single day as well on the channel. We got a bunch of great offseason content coming your way over the next couple of weeks or so leading up to NFL free agency. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button, join the Commanders Report family today, and then also make sure you click that subscribe button for our main Chat Sports YouTube channel where Coop and I, we're going to be going live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight for Super Bowl 59 between the Chiefs and the Eagles. So come hang out with us. It's going to be a great time. We got a super chat wheel, all this different stuff that we usually do on our watch parties. It's going to be a ton of fun, so make sure you click that subscribe button. Until later tonight, guys, hail to the Commanders.